Hello, everyone. I'm back. No need for any introductions. I'm pretty sure you know. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here right now. But the point is, I'm here to give chapter 7 of What If Stephen King's Carrie White met Andrew Detmer from the 2012 found footage movie Chronicle. In this one, it's going to be about Andrew finally mustering up the courage to actually ask Carrie to prom. And I would also like to, although I'm not entirely sure if he's going to be listening, but I would like to apologize for getting Max Landez's name wrong in the end of my last video. His name is not Michael Landez, it's Max. I already said that. But I'm pretty sure you are all looking more forward to me excuse the background noise. But I'm pretty sure you're all looking forward to me actually getting on with the story. So by all means, let's just go ahead and get it started.
Ch. 7 How do I ask her? After school, Carrie plopped down on her bed with a smile as she thought about Andrew's passionate declaration from the morning. No one's ever talked about her that way before. Though she remembers that she was getting some high praise from other students about her part in the talent show, Andrew did more than just say some nice things about her. He practically put her on a pedestal, saying that she means something to him. Something important. She never felt important before. In fact, she never felt like she was important to anyone, let alone meant anything to anybody. As Carrie sat up and got a picture of her and the other three boys in the sky, she grinned to herself. Andrew and the other two have grown to mean a lot to me too. Carrie happily thought to herself. Then Carrie looked up to see that nothing was floating. Carrie smiles to herself, believing that she has her powers under control now. Maybe everything floating last time was just a one-time thing. She thought with a shrug. Though she was briefly confused considering the last time. With Andrew. As Andrew was laying on his stomach on the floor in his room, he made a grin as he was thinking of Carrie. He always thought she was so cute. He was thinking about her long ginger hair and her timid smile, which made him smile at the thought of her. Then he saw a spider crawl along his floor. He used his telekinesis to make it float, then he spread his fingers apart, making all 8 of the spider's legs rip apart from it. Andrew was aware that he technically broke one of Matt's rules of no using it on living things, but he personally felt that he wasn't using it to hurt anyone, so it doesn't really count. And besides, it's not like he'll ever use his powers to hurt anybody. Then he lets the spider and all of its limbs drop to the floor. Then a little later, Andrew went to his mother's room, coughing a little. She sat up and smiled. "Hey Mom, I hope you've been doing good," Andrew said with a cheery demeanor. "Yeah, I'm doing okay, but since I haven't seen you in so long, I'm assuming you and that girl are getting along pretty well." Karen guesses. Yeah, things are going great. I honestly came to ask you something," Andrew said nervously. "Is it about that girl you told me about?" Karen asked with a smile. "Yeah," Andrew answered with a blush and a timid smile. But Karen thought it was adorable. "I hope this isn't bothering you or anything, but I was thinking about how to tell her, but every time I try I can't seem to bring myself to ask her," Andrew said. Karen smiled. "I know that expressing your feelings to someone who might not feel the same way is scary. I once been through the same thing when I was around your age," Karen said as she looked down in thought. Then she looked back up to Andrew and smiled again. But do you really like this girl? Karen asked. Well, other than you, I've never cared for anyone as much as I've grown to care for her. Andrew said almost passionately. Then believe me, no matter what might happen, don't you ever think that it's a mistake to tell someone how much you care about them, 'cause if you care about this girl as much as you say you do, you should have nothing to be ashamed of. Karen said in a caring motherly manner. Andrew smiled. Thanks Mom, I really do appreciate it, but I really want to know how I should ask her. I've tried to so many times before, but the words just won't come out. Andrew said in a downcast but thoughtful way. Oh sweetie, it doesn't have to be special if that's what you're trying to do, just gather up the courage to ask her. But if you want to make it special, that's fine too. But just be strong and proud, sweetie. Karen said with a smile that lifts Andrew's spirit. But that was short-lived when Karen started violently coughing. Whoa, Mom. Andrew asked loudly in a worrying way and rushes over to her side. Don't worry sweetie, I'm okay. I'm okay, ah. 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 Karen screams in agony. Dad. Mom's in pain. Andrew shouts. Please. I need my medicine. Karen said while in pain. Where are you? Andrew asked almost angrily. Ah. Karen cries out in severe agony. It's going to be okay Mom. It's going to be okay. Andrew said fearfully but was trying to comfort and console her. Then she started going into her coughing fits again. Andrew started to tear up in fear and worry. Dad. Andrew shouted again but more out of frustration. But Andrew eventually found her pills. Unfortunately, there was only one left. He quickly gave it to her, and she eventually stopped screaming and fell asleep. I'm going to have to let Dad know that she just ran out, and we're going to have to buy another bottle soon. Andrew mumbled looking at the empty bottle. But as soon as he walked out of the room and was about to call his dad, he felt a hand aggressively grab his arm and pulled him. Come here. We're going to have a private chat. Richard said as he was aggressively yanking Andrew's arm all the way to the garage. Sit down. Richard demanded, pointing at a chair in front of a table. As Andrew sat down, Richard sat on the other side of the table. Really? That's what you're wasting your money on? Richard asked loudly to Andrew. What are you talking about? Andrew asked. I'm talking about you, hoarding a $500 camera while your mother dies in there. How selfish can you be? Richard yelled to Andrew. I went through your camera. Richard said in a calmer tone. What did you see? Andrew asked. Just you being a loser. Richard said coldly. You think those people are your friends? Do you actually think that wimpy weird girl likes you? Well, they don't, you're an embarrassment. His father said harshly. You're running around this town, spending my money. Look at me when I'm talking to you. He yelled at Andrew. I didn't spend any of your money, Richard. Andrew said in calm anger. 'Cause I don't have a dime to spend, every last cent. Look at me. Every last cent. Goes to school for you. Medication for your mother. And now I can't even hear a goddamn thing. Andrew was talking/yelling over his father. School. I go to a public school, you don't pay for public school. You idiot. Andrew said loudly. For a brief moment, there was silence. What did you call me? What did you call me, you little shit? Did you just call me an idiot? Huh. He yelled, throwing the table aside, and tossing aside the chair that Andrew fell out of. Richard punched Andrew in the face, then when Andrew fell to the floor, Richard yelled at him, demanding that he gets up. Then when he didn't, Richard tried pulling him up by his shirt. But when he did, Andrew grabbed him by the neck and with his telekinesis, threw Richard against a wall. Ah! Stop! Let me go! Richard grunted. If you ever talk about her like that again, I will crush you! Andrew yelled. Then as he moved his arm to the other side of the room, Richard flew to the other side of the room, hitting another wall. Richard was groaning and whimpering as he was rolling on the floor. As Andrew's chest was heaving up and down, Andrew looked to his camera, which was slowly floating towards him. With Matt, at Casey's house. Smile, Matt. Casey said, pointing her camera at Matt, who was in her bathroom. But she was surprised to see that he was wiping his bloody nose. Oh my God, Matt. Casey said in surprise and worry. Matt did his best to cover his face. Can we not do the camera thing right now, please? Matt said, both amused and a little annoyed. What happened? Casey asked worriedly. Matt made a weary sigh. I don't know, it just started out of nowhere. He answered. Are you okay? Casey asks worriedly. Matt made another sigh and a chuckle. My head hurts really bad. Matt grumbled. Then his cell phone rings. That's probably Steve calling your cell again. Casey said. I'll call him back later. He said, snatching Casey's camera from her and pointing it at her, but she wasn't wearing anything above her waist, so she turned her body away from the camera. Matt? Oh my God, Matt. Come on. Give me my camera. Casey said, both amused and embarrassed at the same time. But Matt just kept laughing. With Andrew in a cloudy sky. As Andrew was floating in the sky and sobbing, there was lightning flashing around him and low rumbling sounds of thunder. Hey! Hey! Andrew! What are you doing up here? Steve shouted as he and Carrie were floating towards him with jackets on. Just leave me alone, Steve. Andrew said loudly. You can't be up here, it isn't safe. Carrie said loudly to Andrew. I don't want to talk to anyone. Andrew said to them. Hey man, what are you doing up here? Steve asked him. Just leave me alone. Andrew said loudly. How did you guys find me? He asked them. We don't know how to explain it. Carrie said loudly. Well, my nose was bleeding and I heard your voice or something. Steve tries to explain. I can't really explain it either, my nose may not have been bleeding, but I just felt that you were in trouble or something. Carrie also tries to explain. Wait, what the hell happened to your face? Steve asks worriedly. Carrie floated a little closer, then she looked both shocked and outraged. Nothing guys, just leave me alone. Andrew said, angry and embarrassed while trying to hide his face from them. Andrew? Did your dad do that to you? Carrie asked with outrage and tension in her voice. Will you guys stop pretending to care? Andrew yelled angrily. Dude, why are you talking to us like this? We're your best friends. Steve said loudly. I don't have any friends. You were never my friend before any of this. Andrew snapped to Steve. But what about me? You wanted to be my friend even before you knew I had powers. Carrie countered. Andrew silently looked back at Carrie. I already told you what my mom does to me every time she even thinks that I've committed some kind of sin. About how she sometimes hits me with her Bible, or how she locks me in the closet till I pray for forgiveness. I understand, Andrew, I know what it's like. Carrie said urgingly. Andrew looked down sadly, then when he turned all the way back to Carrie and Steve, he burst into tears. As Andrew was crying, it started raining. But instead of them trying to fly away from the rain, Carrie just hugged Andrew. Andrew embraced her back and buried his head in her shoulder. Steve slowly floated over to join them both in the hug, and they both happily embraced him as well. The next day with Matt at school. Matt showed up at the school, parked where he normally does, and got out of his car with a cheery and upbeat attitude. Hey man, Steve said from another parking space not too far from Matt. Matt's cheery smile disappeared almost immediately when he saw Steve's serious and almost angry expression. "Where were you yesterday? Why haven't you been returning my calls?" Steve asks in a low serious tone. "Oh, I was with Casey yesterday and things are going great with her," Matt said, the cheeriness coming back in his voice. "Why were you calling anyway?" he asked nonchalantly. Steve was starting to get annoyed. "Well, while you were getting laid, Andrew was getting the shit beat out of him by his dad, so me and Carrie went to talk to Andrew. And it would have been nice if you were there too," Steve said in stern seriousness. "Well, clearly you didn't need me there anyway, and I'm pretty sure everything turned out okay without me anyway," Matt said dismissively as he was trying to walk into the school. But Steve used his telekinesis to pull Matt right in front of him again. "Was your nose bleeding yesterday? Did something ever seem off to you yesterday?" Steve asks, raising his voice at him. Matt looked down in thought, then looked back at Steve. "How the hell did you know about that?" Matt asked. "'Cause the same thing happened to me yesterday and I felt that something was wrong with Andrew." "Like you should have. But I guess you have better things to do than worry about your cousin," Steve said angrily. "I'm sorry man, it's just that Casey is really important to me," Matt said. "Okay, remember when you told me that you were going to keep an eye on Andrew since he was your cousin, and you wanted me to keep an eye on Carrie?" Steve asked. "Yeah. Well, lately I've been keeping an eye on both of them. And the reason why I'm making a big deal about Andrew being upset yesterday, is 'cause every time Andrew got upset, the weather was reacting to his emotions. Andrew is getting stronger and more dangerous. And you would know that if you were actually paying attention," Steve said angrily as he rolled his eyes at Matt and walked away. Matt looked down in thought. Then Casey comes out of a lime green Beetle car, and waves at Matt. Matt looks to Casey and gives a cheery smile. "Hey Casey," Matt greeted as he pulled her in for a kiss. She wrapped her arms around his neck as they were kissing and embracing. "Morning Matt," Casey greeted softly. "The morning's better now that you're here," Matt said as he began kissing her neck. Later in English with Carrie and Andrew. As Mr. Ellman was teaching his class, Carrie glanced outside to see the clouds shaped into words. "I never thanked you yesterday," she read from the clouds. When Carrie turned around to look at Andrew, Andrew was looking back with a sad grin. Andrew looked back out the window and gathered more clouds shaping more words. "I'm sorry for what happened though, you or Steve could have gotten hurt. Or worse," Andrew wrote. Then all of those words muddled away and Carrie used her powers to reshape some words of her own. "It's okay, I'm sure you'd do the same if any of us were hurting," Carrie wrote in the clouds. Andrew slowly nodded and made a small grin as he looked at Carrie. "I would say or do anything, just to see her smile," Andrew thought strongly. Without even realizing that he did it, what he thought was written in the clouds. Then Carrie looked at the clouds and as she read them her face turned red. He noticed that she was smiling and her face turning almost as red as her hair, then he looked outside to the clouds and saw that his thoughts were written in the clouds. Then Andrew started going red with embarrassment. Sue looked to Carrie who was looking at Andrew, seeing Carrie's smile made Sue grin a little, and assuming they are flirting with each other, she thought of something she could do to redeem herself and clear her conscience. But unbeknownst to her, what she was planning to try and do, Andrew was already setting the stage. Andrew thought about what his mother said to him, shook his head and thought, "Mom's right, I should just ask her, I shouldn't just be waiting for a certain moment to ask her. We're already getting along so well, and we have a lot in common, and we tell each other everything. After all, we still became good friends after I accidentally pushed a truck off the road, so I'm pretty sure it won't be that bad, even if she says no, so I don't think I really have anything to lose," Andrew thought. Andrew looked out the window again and saw that nothing was written there, and he took a sigh of relief. Good. 'cause that would be embarrassing, he thought. Andrew looked to Carrie, who was still looking out of the window near her. He smiled as he looked at the sky and shaped the words, "Will you go to prom with me, Carrie?" At first, Carrie raised her eyebrows in surprise, and Andrew raised his as well, but both out of fear and anticipation. Though Andrew couldn't see from where he was sitting, Carrie was smiling and was tearing up. She felt so flattered and so touched that anyone would ask her to prom in such a way. Carrie cleared her throat and wiped some tears away. Andrew raised his eyes curiously again, noticing some activity from Carrie. She turned around to him with a big smile on her face and tear-stained cheeks and shook her head yes at him. Andrew's eyes widened, and he was grinning from ear to ear from excitement and pride. He quickly took out a piece of paper and wrote on it in big letters, showing it to Carrie. "Thank you so much." Sue noticed this and smiled. Later after class, Andrew's heart was still beating at a fast pace. He never thought that he'd ever go to prom, let alone ever thought anyone would ever want to go with him. He felt so proud and excited at the thought, he didn't even notice that he ran right into Sue Snell. "We need to talk," Sue said in a sad yet serious manner. "Okay," Andrew said in confused awkwardness. "It's about prom," Sue said, getting straight to the point. "No thanks, I already have someone in mind," Andrew said, trying to walk past her. No, I'm not asking you to prom, I'm asking you to ask someone else to prom." "Carrie White," Sue said. "I already asked her and she said yes." Andrew was about to try and walk past her, but his curiosity got the better of him. "Okay, pardon my asking, but I just want to know, why so interested anyway? Is she a family member or something?" Andrew asked in suspicion. "No, it's just, after what I did to her in the girls' locker room, I feel that I owe this to her. I got to do something that counts," Sue said with a sad yet sincere expression. "You were there when all the other girls threw tampons at Carrie?" Andrew asked. Sue sadly and shamefully looked down and away from Andrew. "I was actually one of the ones who started it," Sue said sadly. Andrew narrowed his eyes, looking at her in suspicion. "This is a trick or something, isn't it?" Andrew thought to himself. "Look, I can tell by the way you're looking at me that you probably don't trust me, or think I'm up to something. But please believe me when I say, that I really feel bad for what I did. I didn't mean for it to go that far. And I really am sorry," Sue said in sorrowful sincerity. "Well, like I said, I already asked her and she said yes. Or is that all you wanted me to do for you?" Andrew asked. "Well, when you see Carrie again, tell her that Sue Snell is sorry for what happened to her," she said as she turned and walked away.
End of chapter 7. I kind of got those wrong, but I hope you've all enjoyed, and there is more to come, by the way. And also, I would like to give a commenter shout out to Jose the Yeet for encouraging me to keep going on this. Thank you, and I also appreciate your patience. Although for some reason I was able to get this one out sooner than I thought. But I hope you all have had a very good Valentine's Day. All my loyal fans, if I have any. But I would also like to point out that I am considering making an epilogue of how Carrie and Andrew's lives would be years later. And also, Crazy Amanda, please know that you are still in my prayers. Excuse the background noise. My screen shut off. Give me a moment, please. Okay. Um, Now, I'm gonna go ahead and admit that um, I'm. I feel like I'm approaching the end around chapter 10. Still working on 9. And I I already said that. I'm preparing an epilogue. But please know that the next one I make might not come out as soon as most of you might think. After all, I'm not exactly gonna give a date release like I did last time. Just know that I'm going to post them all out whenever I can. And hope you are all still being loyalists. And catch you later. See you all.